The stars twinkled peacefully through the observation deck's massive windows, but Ambassador Reed felt anything but peaceful. His fingers drummed nervously on the polished metal railing as he watched 3 warships of the Stellar Dominion slowly circle their small diplomatic vessel like hungry sharks around wounded prey. The diplomatic ship, named Star Dove, was never meant for combat. Its sleek white hull and golden trim marked it as a vessel of peace, designed for carrying ambassadors between the stars in comfort rather than facing down battleships. Now, that same beautiful design felt like a death sentence. They're moving into attack positions, Captain Miller reported, her antennae twitching with each word. As a member of the peaceful Arthean species, she looked more like a delicate praying mantis than a starship captain. Her large, compound eyes reflected the menacing warships outside, their gun ports now clearly visible as they opened like deadly flowers. "How did they even know we would be here?" asked First Officer Banks, his scaled tail wrapping tightly around his chair, a sure sign of distress for his species. This route to the Galactic Council was supposed to be classified. Reed watched as another crew member, Navigator Wood, worked frantically at his console. The young alien's 6 fingers flew across the holographic displays, searching for any possible escape route. But they all knew it was hopeless. The Stellar Dominion ships had positioned themselves perfectly, blocking all standard hyperspace jump points. It was an inside job, Reed said quietly, his voice carrying in the tense silence of the bridge. Think about it. The council meeting, the peacekeepers mysteriously absent, this ambush. Someone sold us out. The bridge crew exchanged worried glances. The Galactic Council meeting earlier that day had seemed normal at first. Representatives from 30 species had gathered to discuss trade routes and border disputes, standard diplomatic fare. But looking back, there had been signs. The Council's peacekeeping fleet had been delayed due to supposed maintenance issues. Several key allies had been absent, citing various emergencies on their homeworlds. "They're hailing us," Captain Miller announced, her voice trembling slightly. The main screen flickered to life, showing the sneering face of Commander Voss of the Stellar Dominion. His purple skin and ridge-covered head were common features of his species, but the cruel smile he wore was all his own. "Ambassador Reed," Voss said, his universal translator making his words sound artificially smooth. "What an unfortunate situation you find yourself in. Straying into Dominion-claimed space is a serious offense." The red light on Reed's communicator pulsed steadily in the dim light of the Star Dove's bridge. Each flash seemed to make the alien crew members more nervous. Even Captain Miller took a small step back, her insect-like form trembling slightly. "How long until they answer?" First Officer Banks asked, his scaled tail still wrapped tightly around his chair. "They'll answer," Reed said firmly. He had worked with humans before, though always through secure video calls. Like most diplomats, he had never actually met one in person. The stories about their physical capabilities were frightening enough to make most species keep their distance. The main screen was still showing Commander Voss's smug face. The Stellar Dominion officer was giving them 5 minutes to surrender, though everyone knew it was just for show. The Dominion had already decided their fate. Suddenly, a new voice filled the bridge, deep, confident, and somehow dangerous, even through the translator. "This is Earth Command responding to emergency signal. Please identify yourself." The alien crew members stiffened. Even through an audio-only channel, there was something about a human voice that triggered deep survival instincts in most species. Reed took a deep breath. "This is Ambassador Reed aboard the diplomatic vessel Star Dove. We are surrounded by 3 Stellar Dominion warships in neutral space. They're planning to use us to start a war." There was a pause, and when the human voice returned, it had a sharp edge to it. "Understood. What's your ship's status?" "Unarmed." Captain Miller spoke up, her voice shaking slightly. "We're a diplomatic vessel. Our shields won't last 5 minutes against their weapons." "Location received," the human replied. "Hold position. Help is coming." Navigator Wood's console suddenly lit up with alerts. Something just entered hyperspace near Earth, he reported, his 6 fingers flying over the controls. It's moving faster than anything I've ever seen. Reed noticed the Dominion ships were also reacting to the new signal. Commander Voss's expression had changed from smugness to confusion. "Ambassador," Voss called out, "whatever you're planning won't work. Surrender now, and we'll ensure your crew is treated according to prisoner of war protocols." Reed muted the transmission again and turned to his crew. "There's something you all should know about humans," he said quietly. "Their planet isn't just dangerous because of its gravity. Earth has thousands of predator species. Humans didn't become the dominant species by being peaceful. But it's just one ship they're sending," Banks protested. "The Dominion has 3 warships." A bitter laugh escaped Reed's throat. "The humans have a saying, quality over quantity. One human ship is more than enough." The bridge crew huddled around Navigator Wood's console, watching the approaching signal. The human ship was moving through hyperspace in ways that should have been impossible, taking shortcuts that no sane pilot would risk. "That's not natural," Wood whispered. "They're cutting through hyperspace like someone who evolved on a death world." Reed finished. "Humans don't think like us. Their entire history is full of impossible survival stories. Where we see certain death, they see a challenge." Captain Miller's antennae suddenly stood straight up, a sign of extreme alarm in her species. "They're going to drop out of hyperspace right on top of us." "No," Reed corrected her. "They're going to drop out of hyperspace right on top of the Dominion ships. And then we're going to see why Earth is classified as a death world." The crew watched in horrified fascination as the signal grew stronger. The human ship was pushing its engines far beyond what any other species would consider safe. It was like watching a predator charge straight at its prey. No hesitation, no fear, just pure, focused aggression. 30 seconds to arrival," Wood announced, his voice barely a whisper. Reed smiled grimly. The Dominion had made a terrible mistake. They had threatened a human ally, and now they were about to learn why every spacefaring race had one ironclad rule: never, ever make humans angry. The hyperspace signal reached its peak, and the bridge crew held their breath, waiting to see exactly what kind of help Earth had sent them. Space twisted and bent as a massive burst of energy lit up the void. The human ship emerged from hyperspace like a predator leaping from hiding. It was smaller than the Dominion warships, painted a deep matte black that seemed to swallow light. Its design was unlike anything the Stardove's crew had ever seen. All sharp angles and hidden weapon ports, built for war rather than show. "By the stars," Captain Miller whispered, her antennae frozen in shock. "That's a Hunter-class vessel." Most of the bridge crew had only heard rumors about Earth's Hunter-class ships. They were said to be crewed by the best human warriors, using technology that combined Earth's most dangerous predators' hunting techniques with advanced space warfare. The main screen crackled to life, showing the human captain's face. The alien crew couldn't help but stare. Captain Jack stood tall and straight, his powerful frame obvious even through the video feed. His skin was darkened by Earth's harsh sun, and scars crossed his face, marks of survival on a world that tried to kill its inhabitants daily. "This is Captain Jack of the Earth Special Forces," he announced, his voice carrying the natural authority of an apex predator. "Stellar Dominion vessels, you are engaged in an act of piracy against an allied diplomatic ship. Stand down immediately." Commander Voss's face appeared on a split screen, trying to hide his fear behind arrogance. "This is none of Earth's concern. We outnumber you 3-1. A sound came from Captain Jack that made everyone on the Stardove's bridge take a step back, a human laugh, but one filled with the promise of violence. "Numbers won't help you. Last warning. Stand down or be neutralized." "Open fire," Voss screamed, and all 3 Dominion ships launched their missiles at once. What happened next would be talked about in space bars across the galaxy for years to come. The human ship moved in ways that seemed impossible, its engines pushing far beyond normal safety limits. Where other species programmed their ships to preserve the crew's comfort, humans designed theirs to match their own incredible physical endurance. "They're going to hit it," Navigator Wood shouted as dozens of missiles streaked toward the human vessel. Reed shook his head. "Watch." The Hunter-class ship spun and twisted, its movement more like a striking snake than a spaceship. Missiles that should have been dead-on hits somehow missed. The few that did connect seemed to bounce off advanced shields that glowed with a strange, shifting pattern. "Biomimetic defense system," Reed explained to his stunned crew. "They copied it from Earth's jellyfish, creatures that can survive extreme impacts by dispersing energy through their whole body." Captain Jack's voice came through again, but this time it had an edge that made even Reed's blood run cold. "My turn." The human ship suddenly accelerated straight at the nearest Dominion warship. The enemy vessel tried to back away, but the Hunter-class ship was impossibly fast. Strange devices emerged from its hull, launching what looked like glowing webs into space. Gravity nets, First Officer Banks realized, like Earth's spiders use, but the nets wrapped around the Dominion ship, shorting out its engines and weapons. Before the other two enemy vessels could react, the human ship was already moving again, launching more nets while firing precise shots at their weapon systems. In the space of 3 minutes, all 3 Dominion warships hung helpless in space, caught like insects in a spider's web. Not a single shot from the human ship had been aimed to kill. They had disabled the enemy vessels with surgical precision. Captain Jack's face appeared on their screen again. "Diplomatic vessel Star Dove, you are secure. We'll escort these pirates to the nearest Galactic Council station." He paused, then added with a predator's smile, "unless they'd prefer to discuss this matter on Earth." The 3 Dominion ships immediately signaled their surrender. Nobody wanted to be taken to Earth. The very thought of being on a death world was enough to ensure cooperation. Captain Miller turned to Reed, her compound eyes wide with amazement. "One ship," she said quietly. "They sent 1 ship, and it defeated 3 warships without taking a single life." Reed nodded. "That's why humans are so dangerous. They don't just know how to kill. They know how to hunt, how to trap, how to overcome superior numbers with superior skill. Earth taught them that, and now the Dominion has learned it too." The human ship moved into escort position, its black hull reflecting the starlight like polished obsidian. The message was clear to everyone watching. Mess with Earth's allies, and you deal with the Deathworlders. As the Star Dove and its human escort traveled toward the nearest Galactic Council station, Captain Jack accepted an invitation to board the diplomatic vessel. The entire crew gathered in the main conference room, curiosity overwhelming their natural fear of Deathworlders. When the airlock door opened, everyone except Reed took an involuntary step back. Captain Jack stood taller than anyone in the room, his muscular frame making even the ship's reinforced deck plates creak slightly under his steps. Earth's high gravity had shaped his species into something that looked more like a living weapon than a sentient being. "Please, sit down," Captain Miller offered, trying to hide her nervousness. "We have adjusted the chair's strength to accommodate your Earth-normal physiology." Jack smiled, and several crew members flinched at the sight of his teeth, the mark of an omnivorous species that had evolved as both predator and prey. "Thank you," he said, carefully lowering himself into the reinforced chair. "I understand you have questions. How did you defeat 3 warships so easily?" Navigator Wood blurted out, his 6 fingers nervously tapping against each other. "Because we train for exactly these situations," Jack explained. "Earth has taught us that being stronger isn't enough. You need to be smarter than your opponent." Reed nodded and activated the room's holographic display. "Perhaps we should show them," he suggested. "Many of our crew have never seen Earth." The image that appeared made several crew members gasp. Earth hung in space like a jewel, but a deadly one. Massive storms swirled across its surface, oceans covered most of the planet, and the atmosphere itself looked thick enough to crush most species. Our gravity is 1.8 times galactic standard, Jack explained. Every day we fight against a force that would cripple most species. Our bones developed to be dense enough to support our weight. Our muscles grew strong enough to move freely, and our hearts became powerful enough to pump blood through our compressed bodies. The display shifted to show Earth's various environments: dense jungles, vast deserts, frozen tundra, and deep oceans. In each habitat, deadly predators stalked their prey. On most worlds, Jack continued, species evolved to fill one niche, to survive in one type of environment. But Earth never gave us that luxury. We had to become adaptable. When it's freezing, we create heat. When it's burning hot, we cool ourselves. We can survive in any environment because our world never let us specialize. First Officer Banks stared at the images with fascination. Is it true that humans can repair broken bones naturally? Jack held up his arm, showing a faint scar. We don't just repair them. We make them stronger. Every injury that doesn't kill us literally makes us stronger. Our bodies rebuild damaged areas to be tougher than before. And your technology? Captain Miller asked, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. Those gravity nets, the shields. Everything we build comes from Earth's lessons, Jack explained. The gravity nets, copied from spiders that build webs strong enough to catch flying prey. Our shields, based on jellyfish that survive crushing ocean pressures. Even our combat tactics come from studying Earth's predators. The display showed the Hunter-class ship in action, and now the crew could see what they had missed before. The way it moved mimicked a striking snake. Its sensor systems worked like a bat's echolocation. Its weapon systems were arranged like a mantis shrimp's attack claws. But the most important thing Earth taught us, Jack said, his voice growing serious, was empathy. This caught everyone by surprise. Reed leaned forward, intrigued. On a death world, you learn quickly that you can't survive alone. Humans formed groups, protected each other, shared knowledge. We learned that the strongest group wasn't the one with the most powerful individuals, but the one that worked together best. Jack stood up, and this time the crew didn't flinch. That's why we answered your call. Not because we love fighting, but because we understand what it means to face overwhelming odds. On Earth, you either adapt and help each other, or you die. The room fell silent as his words sank in. The aliens were beginning to understand that humans weren't just powerful because of their physical strength or advanced technology. They were powerful because Earth had taught them the ultimate lesson. True strength comes from protecting others. Reed smiled, watching his crew's fear turn to understanding. The galaxy was about to learn what he already knew. Having a Deathworlder as an ally meant more than just having a powerful warrior. It meant having a protector who understood both the harsh reality of survival and the vital importance of working together. The peaceful journey to the Galactic Council station didn't last long. As the Star Dove and the human ship Hunter emerged from hyperspace at the designated waypoint, 12 more Dominion warships were waiting for them. It's a trap, Navigator Wood shouted, his 6 fingers flying across the control panel. They must have called for reinforcements before surrendering. Reed watched as the new Dominion fleet spread out in a classic encirclement pattern. The 3 captured ships still floated helplessly in their gravity nets, but now they were just obstacles in a much bigger battle. Captain Jack's face appeared on the main screen, but this time he wasn't smiling. His expression reminded Reed of Earth's apex predators before a hunt. Star Dove, activate your emergency shields and stay behind us. But there's 12 of them. Captain Miller protested, her antennae quivering. Even a human ship can't. Watch and learn, Jack interrupted. This is why we study Earth's pack hunters. The hunter suddenly split into 3 parts, each section transforming into a smaller but fully armed vessel. The alien crew stared in amazement as the human ship literally divided itself like an Earth amoeba. Modular combat system, Reed explained to his stunned crew. Based on how some Earth creatures can split into multiple parts and survive. Each section is a complete fighting unit. The lead Dominion ship transmitted a demand for surrender, but the 3 human vessels were already moving. They accelerated in different directions, their black hulls seeming to absorb both light and sensor scans. They're copying wolf pack hunting tactics, Reed realized aloud, splitting up to confuse larger prey. The space battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic military history. The 3 human ships moved with perfect coordination, striking from multiple angles. Where the Dominion ships tried to maintain formation, the human vessels seemed to ignore standard space combat rules. One human ship dove straight through the Dominion formation, its advanced shields flaring as it absorbed enemy fire. The maneuver seemed suicidal until the crew realized it had dropped dozens of small objects in its wake. Mines, First Officer Banks guessed. Better, Reed said as the devices activated. Decoys, like how octopuses release ink clouds. The decoys projected false sensor readings, making it impossible for the Dominion ships to tell which targets were real. In their confusion, they started firing at shadows while the real human ships struck from unexpected angles. 2 Dominion vessels found themselves caught in the same type of gravity nets that had captured their allies. 3 more lost their engines to precise strikes that disabled rather than destroyed. The human ships moved like a well-coordinated pack of predators, herding their prey into vulnerable positions. "Look at their targeting," Navigator Wood exclaimed. "They're not trying to kill anyone. Every shot hits engines, weapons, or shields, never the crew sections." The battle reached its peak when the remaining Dominion ships attempted to concentrate their fire on one human vessel. Instead of retreating, the targeted ship accelerated directly toward them, launching what looked like glowing spears of energy. "EMP javelins," Reed explained. "Inspired by electric eels from Earth's oceans, they'll overload their power systems without harming the crews." Within 15 minutes of the battle's start, all 12 Dominion warships floated powerless in space. The 3 human ships recombined into the Hunter, the transformation as smooth as if it had never separated. Captain Jack's face reappeared on their screen. "Area secured. Now we have 15 pirates to deliver to the Council." His Predator's smile returned. "Unless any of them would like to reconsider that visit to Earth." The surrender signals from the Dominion ships came even faster this time. Captain Miller turned to Reed, her compound eyes wide with awe. "I understand now," she said quietly. "It's not just their strength or technology that makes humans dangerous. It's their ability to adapt, to think differently, to turn any situation to their advantage." Reed nodded. "That's the true lesson of Earth. Survival isn't about being the strongest or the most ruthless. It's about being the most adaptable, the most innovative, and knowing when to show mercy." As they watched the Hunter round up its captured ships like a sheepdog herding sheep, the Stardove's crew finally understood why humans made such perfect allies. They weren't just warriors from a death world. They were protectors who had learned their lessons from the harshest teacher in the galaxy, Earth itself. The Galactic Council station loomed ahead, its massive ring structure spinning slowly in space. 15 captured Dominion ships followed behind the Hunter like chastened children, while the Stardove flew alongside its human protector. But Captain Jack wasn't finished. Something had been bothering him about this whole situation. "There's a bigger story here," he announced during an emergency meeting on the Stardove. "The Dominion ships knew exactly where to find you. That second ambush was too well planned." The conference room was crowded now. Along with the Stardove's crew, they had Commander Voss from the 1st Dominion Group secured in a reinforced chair. The commander's purple skin had turned almost white with fear, sitting so close to a human. "Time for some answers," Jack said, walking slowly around the table. Even without trying, his movements reminded everyone of an Earth predator stalking its prey. "Who gave you our diplomatic route?" Voss remained silent, but his eyes kept darting toward the door. Jack noticed this and smiled, the same smile that had made him so feared during the battle. "You know what makes humans different from most species?" Jack asked casually, picking up a metal stylus from the table. "We can read body language. Had to learn it on Earth. where missing a predator's warning signs meant death. To everyone's amazement, he bent the metal stylus into a knot with his bare hands. Earth-evolved muscles, making the impossible look easy. Voss's eyes widened even further. Someone high up in the council had to be involved, Reed said thoughtfully. The peacekeeper's absence was too convenient. Jack nodded. And now we'll find out who. He turned back to Voss. You have two choices. Tell us everything, or I'll take you to Earth for questioning. You can't. Voss finally broke his silence. That's against council law. Actually, Reed interjected, pulling out a datapad. There's an interesting clause in the Galactic Treaty. Article 47 states that in cases of suspected high treason, the wronged party can choose the location of interrogation. Captain Miller's antennae twitched with sudden understanding. And since Earth is part of the Alliance. Exactly, Jack confirmed. So, Commander Voss, shall we discuss this here, or would you like to experience Earth's 1.8 gravity personally? I hear the weather's particularly harsh this season. Lots of thunderstorms. Voss broke immediately. Counselor Dax. He blurted out. It was Counselor Dax. He's been working with the Dominion for years, helping plan the invasion. Navigator Wood quickly pulled up information on his console. Dax. He's been pushing for stricter controls on Deathworlder activities in Council space. Of course, Reed said, pieces falling into place. He wants to limit human influence because he knows you're the only ones who could stop a Dominion takeover. Jack activated his communicator. Hunter, initiate protocol Earthsnake. He looked at the confused aliens and explained, like a snake that can sense heat, we've been tracking energy signatures since we arrived. My ship has already identified 3 more Dominion battle groups hiding in nearby systems. A full invasion force, Captain Miller whispered in horror. Not anymore, Jack said with satisfaction. While we've been talking, Earth's defense fleet has been moving into position. The Dominion ships are about to find themselves surrounded by Deathworlders. Voss slumped in his chair, defeated. You knew all along. We suspected, Jack corrected. Humans are paranoid by nature. Had to be, to survive Earth. We never go anywhere without backup plans. He turned to Reed. Ambassador, I believe you have enough evidence now to call an emergency council session. Reed nodded, already drafting the message. The council would have to address not only the attempted invasion, but also the corruption in their own ranks. I still don't understand, First Officer Banks said, his tail twitching thoughtfully. Why did the Dominion think they could win? They must have known about human capabilities. Jack's expression turned serious. They made the same mistake most species make. They looked at our technology, our strength, our ships, but they forgot about our minds. On Earth, the smartest survivors aren't always the strongest. They're the ones who can think ahead, plan for the worst, and turn traps back on those who set them. The room fell silent as everyone processed this. They had just watched humanity demonstrate not just their physical power, but their true strength. The ability to outthink and outplan their opponents, turning every situation to their advantage. The hunter had become the protector, and the would-be invaders had become the trapped. The Galactic Council's emergency session was unlike anything in its 1,000-year history. Representatives from over 200 species filled the great circular chamber, their voices hushed as they watched the evidence unfold on the massive holographic displays. Ambassador Reed stood at the center platform, presenting the proof of Counselor Dax's betrayal. Behind him stood Captain Jack, his mere presence making several council members nervous. The human hadn't changed out of his battle armor, which seemed to absorb the chamber's bright lights just as his ship absorbed sensor scans. The evidence is undeniable, Reed concluded, his voice echoing through the chamber. Counselor Dax conspired with the Stellar Dominion to start a war that would have cost millions of lives. Dax, secured in a containment field nearby, had lost all his previous arrogance. His species was known for their logical, calculated nature, but he hadn't calculated on facing the humans' cunning. What I don't understand, The council leader said, her crystalline form sparkling as she spoke, is how one human ship prevented this invasion. Captain Jack stepped forward, and the entire chamber seemed to lean back. Permission to explain, Ambassador. Reed nodded, hiding a smile. The council was about to learn some important lessons about humans and their capabilities. We didn't prevent the invasion, Jack said simply. We let them think they were succeeding. He activated his own data device, and new images filled the holographic display. They showed hundreds of human ships emerging from hiding spots throughout nearby systems, surrounding not just the invasion fleet but key Dominion military bases. While everyone focused on our battle, Jack continued, Earth's defense fleet was moving into position. The Dominion's entire military leadership is now sitting in cells on various alliance worlds. Their government is already requesting peace talks. The council chamber erupted in shocked whispers. What they were seeing wasn't just a prevented attack. It was a complete strategic victory achieved almost bloodlessly. But that's impossible, one council member shouted. How did you coordinate such a massive operation without anyone detecting it? We learned from Earth's wolf packs, Jack explained. While everyone watches the obvious threat, they miss the rest of the pack moving into position. We made ourselves the target, the obvious threat. Nobody looked for the other ships. Captain Miller, who had been invited to testify, stepped forward. I think I understand now, she said, her antennae moving thoughtfully. This wasn't just about stopping an invasion. This was about changing how the galaxy works. Reed nodded. For too long, the Council has tried to keep humans at arm's length, afraid of our strength. But strength without wisdom is just brutality. Earth taught us to be both strong and smart, both fierce and merciful. Which is why, Jack added, Earth is formally requesting full membership in the Galactic Council. The chamber fell silent. Humans had always been allies but had never sought council membership. The implications were enormous. Think about it, Reed continued. You've seen what one human ship can do. Imagine that same protective power properly integrated into galactic society, not as weapons, but as guardians. The council leader's crystalline form shimmered with interest. You're proposing humans as peacekeepers. We're proposing partnership, Jack corrected. Earth is dangerous, yes, but it taught us more than just how to fight. It taught us how to protect, how to adapt, how to work together. Like the symbiotic relationships in Earth's oceans, where powerful creatures protect weaker ones in exchange for cooperation. Understanding began to dawn across the chamber. They had been so focused on humans' physical capabilities that they had missed their greatest strength, the ability to turn adversity into advantage, to use power not for dominance, but for protection. The vote is open, the council leader announced. Shall we accept Earth's application for full council membership? The result was unanimous. As the chamber erupted in cheers, Reed turned to Jack with a smile. Well done, Captain. You've just changed galactic history. Jack shrugged, but his eyes were serious. We just showed them what Earth taught us long ago. True strength isn't about domination. It's about cooperation. The deadliest predator can also be the most dedicated protector. As the council session ended, species that had once feared to get near humans were now approaching Jack and Reed, eager to learn more about Earth and its lessons. The galaxy was changing, and at its heart was a simple truth. Sometimes the most dangerous world can produce the best allies. The Deathworlders had found their true role in the galaxy, not as warriors to be feared, but as guardians to be welcomed.